Chosen one. Something extraordinary has happened that will shake you to your core. The cat is finally utterly out of the bag regarding how far this group went to cause you pain, and what's being revealed is beyond anything you could have imagined. The truth has surfaced with such devastating clarity that people are absolutely stunned by the extreme lengths taken to orchestrate your downfall. This wasn't something that started with you, Chosen One. You were walking into a battlefield that had been prepared across generations. The same patterns of control, manipulation, and spiritual suppression had been passed down like toxic heirlooms, each generation refining the techniques, perfecting the methods of breaking divine purpose before it could fully manifest. Your family ancestors established the blueprint for how chosen ones would be handled within the bloodline. The template for identifying the child who carried too much light, who asked too many questions, who refused to accept limitation as birthright, was created long before your arrival. A systematic approach to dimming that light before it could illuminate the darkness that the family system depended on to maintain its dysfunctional equilibrium. Your direct family inherited these tools and modernized them, adapting ancient methods of spiritual suppression to contemporary circumstances, learning to weaponize therapy language, to disguise abuse as tough love, to frame attacks on your divine nature as protection from a cruel world became their speciality. Master manipulators who could make victims grateful for the very chains that bound them. Then came your generation of siblings, cousins and relatives who were either fellow victims or willing collaborators in the family's systematic approach to crushing chosen ones. Some joined the ranks of the suppressors, becoming junior partners in the family business of spiritual assassination. Others remained damaged themselves but were too broken to recognize what was being done to you, too wounded to offer the support you desperately needed. The family system operated like a spiritual immune system, designed to identify and eliminate anything that threatened toxic stability. You represented evolution, growth, healing, everything that would expose dysfunction for what it truly was, so every resource was mobilized to ensure your light would never shine bright enough to illuminate the surrounding darkness. When we talk about how far this group went, we're not just discussing casual acquaintances or workplace enemies. We're talking about people who shared your blood, your dinner table, your childhood memories, family members who weaponized intimate knowledge of your vulnerabilities, your fears, your deepest insecurities against you with surgical precision. Your family knew exactly which buttons to push, because most of those buttons were installed during your formative years. That sibling who always seemed to know precisely when to deliver the crushing blow to your confidence was working from a playbook written over decades of observation. That parent who could make you doubt your own sanity with a single carefully chosen phrase had been rehearsing those lines since you were small enough to believe their version of reality was the only one that mattered. The family dysfunction you thought was just normal chaos was actually a carefully orchestrated symphony of psychological control. Every gathering became an opportunity to reinforce the narrative constructed about who you were supposed to be. Every celebration turned into a stage for subtle humiliations. Every moment of your joy became a target for undermining comments disguised as concern. Your love was used against you. Your loyalty was exploited. Your sense of duty and obligation was manipulated to keep you trapped in patterns that served the need for control. Family first became the rallying cry while your sense of self was systematically destroyed. Blood is thicker than water was proclaimed while the well of your self-worth was poisoned with toxic shame and manufactured guilt. The most insidious part was how you were made complicit in your own destruction, training to self-police, to internalize criticism, to become your own worst enemy became second nature. You learned to anticipate disapproval and modify behavior accordingly, slowly erasing pieces of your authentic self to avoid wrath. Physical presence wasn't needed to control you. Voices had been implanted so deeply in your psyche that you carried the prison wherever you went. Every single move made against you has been catalogued in the cosmic ledger with perfect clarity. Nothing escapes the great accounting. Nothing. And now the books have been thrown open for all to witness. Look around and see how the scrambling resembles insects when a rock is overturned. The power was always an illusion, a house of cards built on quicksand, and now the ground liquefies while the structure collapses. The level of psychological manipulation employed against you was worthy of intelligence agencies. You weren't just lied to, entire alternate realities were constructed, and you were insisted to live in them. Your history was rewritten, your experiences denied, and you were made to question the very foundation of your perception and memory. When you tried to speak your truth, coordinated campaigns of invalidation were unleashed that left you dizzy with confusion. Multiple family members would simultaneously tell you that your version of events never happened, that your feelings were wrong, that your reactions were inappropriate. A chorus of denial so overwhelming was created that you began to doubt your own sanity. The art of selective memory was perfected, remembering every small mistake you made while conveniently forgetting every cruelty inflicted upon you. Detailed mental files of your weaknesses were maintained while all evidence of failures in others was erased. Historians of a fictional past where perpetual victimhood from your unreasonable behavior was the narrative. The gaslighting wasn't random or spontaneous, it was systematic and coordinated. Seeds of doubt were planted in your mind, and then watered with carefully timed reminders of supposed inadequacies. Situations were created designed to trigger your trauma responses, and then those responses were used as evidence of your instability. The very machine built to silence you now amplifies your truth with thunderous resonance. The harder the work to erase you, the more permanent your mark becomes. Divine irony, at its finest, desperation to control the outcome, only accelerated the undoing. The universe has a wicked sense of humor, doesn't it? Frantic attempts to maintain the narrative are failing spectacularly, moment by moment, breath by breath. What failed to be comprehended was that darkness cannot survive when light decides to arrive, and arrive it has, in blinding, uncompromising waves. The truth spreads like wildfire through dry brush, consuming every fabrication, every manipulation, every carefully constructed lie. Those stories told, those masterful fictions woven to paint others as heroes and you as villains, disintegrating molecule by molecule, atom by atom, dissolving into the nothingness from which everything came. Positioning as righteous defenders of order, wrapping in false virtue, and pointing fingers outward to distract from corruption, was the strategy. Such breathtaking arrogance, such spectacular miscalculation, the foundations of the narrative were rotten from the start, and now the entire structure groans under the weight of truth. Hear that sound, the creaking, splintering symphony of collapse. It's the sweetest music, the harmony of justice long delayed but finally arriving with thunderous presence. The campaign against you was not casual, not random, not the product of misunderstanding or circumstance. It was deliberate, methodical, relentless, a coordinated effort designed with one purpose, your complete elimination from the board. Those coincidences that undermined you were engineered. Those misunderstandings that isolated you were manufactured. Those friends who suddenly turned cold were manipulated. Every setback, every obstacle, every betrayal, all pieces of the grand design. Money became another weapon in the arsenal against you, chosen one. The understanding that financial dependence creates spiritual imprisonment led to elaborate schemes to keep you economically vulnerable and therefore controllable. Help was offered that came with invisible strings attached, creating debt that could never be fully repaid because the interest was calculated in compliance and submission. Your professional opportunities were sabotaged with whisper campaigns to employers, landlords, and business partners. Carefully crafted rumors about your reliability, your mental state, your character, were spread, always stopping just short of actionable slander, but causing maximum damage to your reputation and earning potential. When you achieved success despite interference, ways were found to undermine it. Family emergencies were manufactured that demanded your attention just as your career was gaining momentum. Crises were created that required you to choose between your progress and your perceived family obligations. Every milestone was turned into a moment of guilt and conflict. The most crushing aspect was how your financial struggles were made to seem like personal failures. Minimal help would be offered while making you feel like an ungrateful burden for needing it. Artificial scarcity was created in your life while abundance was flaunted elsewhere, teaching you that resources were limited and had to be earned through submission. What was unleashed against you operated on levels that most people never even recognize exist. The attacks weren't just on your mind and emotions. Coordinated assaults were launched against your soul, your connection to divine source, your very reason for incarnating on this planet. Your adversaries intuited that you carried something missing in them, something that threatened the spiritual poverty made into identity. Your intuition was mocked, your spiritual experiences dismissed, and any evidence of your psychic abilities was ridiculed. When you demonstrated gifts that proved your connection to higher realms, complete ignoring occurred, or ways were found to twist them into evidence of mental instability. An environment was created where your greatest strengths had to be hidden like shameful secrets. You were surrounded with spiritual interference, your environment filled with negative energy, chaotic vibrations, and psychic attacks disguised as family dynamics. Your family members became conduits for dark forces that recognized your light as a threat to their influence over the family system. Without even realizing it consciously, service as agents of spiritual suppression was being performed. The religious or spiritual traditions in your family were weaponized against you. If devoutness was claimed, guilt, shame, and fear-based interpretations of sacred texts were used to keep you small. If secularism was the norm, scientific materialism was used to deny the validity of anything beyond physical reality. Either way, barriers were created between you and the divine connection that was your birthright. The way you were systematically isolated from potential allies and supporters reveals the true sophistication of the operation. Direct attacks weren't the only method. Every well you might have drawn support from was poisoned, cutting off your access to people who could have validated your experience and helped you recognize the truth of what was happening. Your version of events was spread through extended family networks, ensuring that cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents all received carefully crafted narratives that positioned you as the problem child, the difficult one, the family member who couldn't be trusted or relied upon. By the time you reached out for help, these potential allies had already been primed to see you through the lens of suspicion and doubt. Interference with your friendships occurred by creating drama whenever you brought people home, making your friends feel unwelcome, manufacturing emergencies that required your attention whenever you tried to maintain social connections. You were trained to prioritize family dysfunction over healthy relationships, ensuring that you would remain trapped in the toxic ecosystem. When you tried to build romantic relationships, ways were found to sabotage them. Embarrassing stories about your past would be shared, private information that damaged your credibility would be revealed, or situations would be created that made your partners question your stability and judgment. The thought of you finding someone who might truly see and value who you were was unbearable. Your healing journey was turned into ammunition against you. Every therapy session you attended became evidence of your brokenness. Every boundary you tried to establish became proof of your selfishness. Every attempt to claim your power became a demonstration of your arrogance. The very tools meant to liberate you were weaponized, turned into instruments of further oppression. The mental conditioning you were subjected to was more sophisticated than anything developed by government psychological operations. Multiple layers of programming were created, backup systems for backup systems, ensuring that even if you broke free from one form of control, another would activate to pull you back into compliance. Programming with delayed activation triggers was implemented, psychological landmines that would explode weeks or months after being planted. A casual comment would burrow into your subconscious and emerge later as crushing self-doubt. A seemingly innocent observation would fester until it became a core belief about your inadequacy. Seeds of future self-destruction were being planted with every interaction. The most devastating programming involves your sense of identity and purpose. You were convinced that your dreams were unrealistic, your goals too ambitious, your vision of yourself too grandiose. Your relationship with your own potential was systematically dismantled, teaching you to fear success more than failure, because success would separate you from the family system that had become your entire world. Even the most loyal supporters now avert their eyes. Even the staunchest allies step back one by one, unwilling to be caught in the crushing gravity of the downfall. The whispered questions become spoken doubts and shouted accusations. Those who once defended the perpetrators now question their own judgment, wondering how such thorough deception was possible. The evidence mounts, the pattern emerges. What seemed like isolated incidents now form an undeniable constellation of malice. The picture is complete, and it tells a story that can no longer be controlled, a story of calculated destruction aimed directly at you. Those countless nights spent constructing alibis, manufacturing evidence, rehearsing synchronized testimonies, all wasted effort. The elaborate scaffolding of deceit cannot withstand the earthquake of revelation now shaking its foundations. There was a moment, a single crystalline instant, when the control faltered, when the mask adhered so tightly to faces developed a hairline crack. Did you see it? That flash of panic in eyes, that momentary stutter in carefully rehearsed narratives. That was the beginning of the end. In arrogance, belief in being beyond discovery persisted. In hubris, thoughts of being untouchable architects of reality prevailed. What magnificent delusion! What spectacular blindness! The failure to understand the most fundamental law of existence. Truth cannot remain buried forever. History was attempted to be rewritten with you cast as footnote rather than chapter. Your significance, your contribution, your very being was tried to be diminished. But truth is stubborn, reality resists revision, and now the fictional account crumbles against the unyielding wall of what actually happened. What was catastrophically failed to be understood is that every action taken against a chosen one creates corresponding movements in the spiritual dimensions of reality. Operations occurred as if consciousness existed only in individual minds, as if influence ended at the boundaries of physical perception, as if consequences remained contained within the realm of social dynamics. This ignorance of metaphysical law has become complete and total undoing. The universe maintains accounting systems that operate far beyond human manipulation or deception. Every intention formed against you was recorded in the cosmic ledger with perfect precision. Every emotion cultivated, jealousy, resentment, hatred, became spiritual debt accumulated in karmic accounts. Every action taken to diminish your light created an equal and opposite force, building pressure to restore balance to the universal equation. The karmic mathematics of choices has been calculating compound interest this entire time, and the bill has finally come due with devastating totality. What was sent out is returning multiplied by the duration and intensity of the campaign against divine purpose. This isn't punishment in any vindictive sense, it's correction, the way a river corrects itself back to its natural course after artificial barriers are removed. Universal law operates with the same dispassionate precision as gravity, and your adversaries just discovered standing at the bottom of a spiritual avalanche triggered by their own actions. The warnings came, the signs appeared. The opportunities for course correction presented themselves with increasing urgency, all ignored, all dismissed with sneering confidence. Now the bill comes due, and the discovery too late that spiritual credit is deeply catastrophically overdrawn. The most exquisite aspect of their downfall is its perfect symmetry with crimes against you. Every tactic used is being deployed in return, not by any human agent seeking revenge, but by the universe itself demonstrating the flawless mirror nature of cosmic justice. You were isolated from your community. Now isolation from their circles manifests. Rumors about your mental stability were spread. Now their own stability faces constant scrutiny. Your version of events was questioned. Now credibility crumbles under sustained examination. This mirroring effect operates with such precise detail that dismissing it as coincidence becomes impossible. The timing, the methods, the specific nature of experiences, everything reflects back their own strategies with uncanny accuracy. A masterclass in their own manipulation techniques is being received, delivered by a teacher never expected to be encountered, the universe itself operating through the law of perfect return. Watch how scrambling to explain these parallels occurs, how attempts to deny obvious patterns manifest, how resistance to acknowledging the perfect symmetry of the situation plays out. Psychological defenses, the same ones exploited in others, now activate to protect against recognizing their own reflection in circumstances. Living inside a real-time demonstration of spiritual law that so much energy was spent trying to convince others doesn't exist, and the irony is so complete it approaches divine poetry. Look, you already know the game is rigged, and if you're paying attention, you know the walls are closing in, so let's talk about what we're doing about it. When you live by the day at the market's command, where profit and property rule the land, to be heard, to be held, to be dealt a fair hand. These are the things that a people demand, and we hear you. The obsidian inner order has paywalls, yes. Those who stand with us, who fuel this mission, they give us ammunition to fight the archons, to push back against the machine, to go deeper, to uncover more. And as our thank you, paid members get access to a 1-hour live, personalized weekly group tarot reading guidance, insight and clarity for the road ahead. But kicking a man for being down on the floor, that's something we cannot ignore. That's why starting today, you can steal the Astral Atom exclusive daily newsletter for free. No paywall, no catch. Just join the Patreon free tier, link in the description. This is the start of our conversation with you, and it's bi-directional. You can reply to any email we send you. We'll read it, we'll hear you, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you from the universe itself. If you can support, we need you. If you can't, take what's free. The obsidian inner order is open. Now let's get back to work. Power once held rarely surrenders itself willingly, but some forces cannot be resisted, some tides cannot be turned, some shifts cannot be prevented. This is such a moment, a fundamental realignment, that no amount of resistance can halt. Authority dissolves like salt in water. Control slips through fingers that grasp ever more desperately. The voices once silenced now speak with thunderous volume. The truths suppressed now spread with unstoppable momentum. People awaken as if from hypnosis, blinking in confusion at beliefs accepted without question. How did we not see? Becomes the question. How were we so thoroughly deceived? The scales fall from eyes everywhere, and what is seen cannot be unseen. Every attack launched against you was recorded in the cosmic ledger, creating karmic debt that would eventually demand payment. Every attempt to dim your light only increased the spiritual pressure building for your eventual emergence. The universe began activating protective mechanisms around you that operated beyond understanding or ability to interfere with. Synchronicities started appearing in your life, guiding you toward people, experiences, and information that would help you recognize the truth of your situation. Divine intervention manifested in ways both subtle and dramatic, creating exits from the maze of control. Your spiritual gifts began intensifying despite efforts to suppress them. Your intuition sharpened, allowing you to sense the truth beneath lies. Your psychic abilities expanded, giving you access to information that couldn't be manipulated or controlled. Your connection to Source strengthened, providing you with guidance and support that came from dimensions beyond reach. The forces invoked against you began turning with mathematical precision. The negative energy directed toward you started returning to its source, creating chaos in the lives of your adversaries. The spiritual attacks launched began backfiring, disrupting sleep, health, relationships, peace of mind. Now you stand in the full light of recognition, seeing clearly the elaborate prison constructed around your consciousness. You understand that every limitation imposed was artificial. Every criticism offered was projection. Every attempt to define you was an effort to confine you to a stunted vision of what human beings could become. The revelation isn't just about what was done to you, it's about who you truly are beneath the layers of programming. You're discovering strengths you never knew you possessed, gifts that had been buried under decades of suppression, a purpose that had been obscured but never destroyed by interference. You're remembering your true nature as a being of infinite potential, unlimited by the small stories others tried to trap you inside. The boundaries erected around your imagination are dissolving. The ceiling placed over your aspirations is cracking. The walls built around your heart are crumbling. The failure to destroy you has become the catalyst for your transformation into something far more powerful than you would have become without opposition. Every attack launched has been transmuted into strength. Every wound inflicted has become a source of wisdom. Every limitation imposed has been transformed into determination to exceed every boundary attempted to be established. You're not just healing from what was done, you're evolving beyond what any of you imagined was possible. Attempts to break you have broken you free from illusions about what you could achieve. Efforts to diminish you have revealed dimensions of your being never suspected to exist. While their world contracts and darkens with each passing day, yours expands and brightens with supernatural radiance. The energy stolen from you through psychological manipulation is returning with compound interest, bringing gifts never could have been provided through genuine relationships. Your authentic self, suppressed under the weight of projected expectations and manufactured crises, emerges stronger and more radiant than before interference began. This emergence isn't happening despite attacks, it's happening because of them. Every challenge created forced you to develop spiritual muscles you might never have discovered otherwise. Every betrayal orchestrated taught you to recognize authentic loyalty with laser precision. Every lie told about you clarified your understanding of your own truth with crystal clarity. As schemes collapse and deceptions surface like corpses rising from a disturbed grave, the true scope of the campaign against you becomes visible to everyone who participated. The casual gossips who thought engagement in harmless social interaction was occurring discovered participation in a systematic destruction campaign. The passive observers who assume witnessing natural social dynamics realize being audience to orchestrated theater designed to eliminate divine purpose from their world. The revelation creates shockwaves through every relationship touched, every community infiltrated, every life manipulated. People examine their own actions with new awareness, questioning how such thorough deception was possible, wondering what signs were missed, recognizing patterns that should have been seen from the beginning. The collective awakening brings shame, anger, and iron determination to ensure such manipulation never succeeds again in their presence. The reputation so carefully constructed over long periods of strategic impression management dissolves completely as the full extent of deception becomes undeniable. The respect commanded transforms into revulsion as understanding of how thoroughly everyone was played develops. The authority wielded becomes a liability as every past decision faces re-examination through the lens of revealed character. The most devastating aspect of exposure isn't social or professional, it's spiritual. Living with the knowledge of what was truly done must now occur, stripped of all pretense and self-deception. The image maintained even in personal minds has been shattered by undeniable evidence of actions. Escape into denial is impossible because the facts are too overwhelming. Retreat into justification cannot occur because motives are too clearly exposed. Your adversaries face the mirror of their soul and see reflected back every choice made against love, against truth, against divine purpose. Every moment they chose manipulation over authenticity, control over trust, destruction over creation. The accumulated weight of these choices has created a spiritual bankruptcy so complete that no amount of social rehabilitation can restore what's been lost in the deeper dimensions of existence. The cat isn't just out of the bag, it's roaring from the mountaintops, declaring to all who will listen that the age of hidden manipulation has ended forever. The power was always an illusion maintained by collective unconsciousness, and consciousness has now returned to claim its rightful place in your community. The light others tried to extinguish has become a beacon, drawing others away from the darkness represented by your adversaries. You stand now not as a victim of schemes, but as a living testament to the indestructible nature of divine purpose. Every attack launched against you has been transformed into evidence of your resilience. Every lie told about you has been revealed as a projection of shadow. Every relationship destroyed has been replaced by connections of greater authenticity and depth. Every door closed has led to the opening of windows never seen coming. The ending written for your story has become the beginning of reckoning for others, while your true narrative unfolds with even greater brilliance because it carries the hard-won wisdom of surviving opposition. Your adversaries sought to author your downfall, and instead authored their own destruction, while you emerge from carefully constructed hell transformed into something never imagined possible, a chosen one who cannot be broken, cannot be silenced, cannot be stopped. Their failure to destroy you stands as eternal proof that some forces in this universe operate beyond human manipulation. Divine purpose, once awakened, creates its own protection, attracts its own allies, and manifests its own justice with perfect timing and absolute precision. You embody this truth now, walking forward into a future bright with possibilities your adversaries never wanted you to see. You never needed approval to exist. You never required permission to thrive. You never depended on acceptance to fulfill your purpose. And therein lay the fundamental miscalculation. Belief that authority determined your reality, thoughts that rejection could erase your truth, imagination that denial could negate your experience, wrong on every count. The resources wasted in the campaign against you, the energy squandered, the opportunities missed, the potential never realized, all sacrificed on the altar of your destruction. And for what? To find themselves exactly where most feared, exposed, revealed, and facing the consequences of choices made from fear rather than wisdom. But the story doesn't end with your emergence, chosen one. Your transformation creates ripple effects that extend far beyond your personal victory. Every person who witnessed what was done to you and said nothing is now forced to confront their own complicity. Every bystander who chose comfort over courage must now examine their role in enabling spiritual suppression. Every individual who looked the other way when you needed support faces the mirror of their own moral bankruptcy. Your triumph becomes a catalyst for collective awakening that your adversaries never anticipated. People begin recognizing similar patterns in their own families, their own communities, their own lives. The revelation of what happened to you opens floodgates of recognition for countless others who suffered in silence, believing their experiences were isolated incidents rather than part of a systematic approach to crushing divine purpose. Your courage to stand in your truth gives others permission to examine their own situations with new clarity. The strength you demonstrated in surviving coordinated psychological warfare becomes a beacon of hope for those still trapped in similar circumstances. Your refusal to be broken despite overwhelming opposition becomes proof that escape is possible, that healing is achievable, that transformation can occur even in the darkest circumstances. Your voice, tempered in the furnace of opposition, now carries weight that commands attention. When you speak about manipulation, people listen because you've survived it. When you discuss spiritual warfare, your words resonate because you've lived through it. When you share insights about divine purpose, the authority is undeniable because you've fought to reclaim yours. What your adversaries fail to understand is that destroying a chosen one was never just about eliminating one individual. It was about preventing the activation of everything that person was meant to inspire. Your survival means that all the lives you were meant to touch, all the healing you were meant to facilitate, all the awakening you were meant to catalyze, can now unfold according to divine design. The future stretching before you carries possibilities that your family system worked desperately to abort. Every dream suppressed is resurging with renewed vitality. Every gift buried is emerging with enhanced potency. Every purpose delayed is manifested with perfect timing that accounts for the wisdom gained through struggle. Your story becomes a manual for other chosen ones navigating similar battles. The strategies you develop to maintain your sanity become tools others can use to preserve their own. The boundaries you learn to establish become examples others can follow to protect their energy. The recognition you gained about manipulation becomes knowledge others can apply to identify deception in their own lives. Your breakthrough represents more than personal healing. It signals a shift in the cosmic balance between forces that suppress divine purpose and those that support its manifestation. Every chosen one who refuses to be broken strengthens the field of possibility for all others carrying similar missions. Your victory contributes to making it easier for future generations to recognize and resist attempts to dim their light. The energy once directed toward your destruction is now being recycled into a creative force that serves your highest purpose. The attention once focused on keeping you small now witnesses your expansion into dimensions of being that were always your birthright. The resources once allocated to your suppression now become powerless to prevent your flourishing. You've become living proof that divine purpose cannot be permanently thwarted, only temporarily obscured. Your existence demonstrates that spiritual gifts cannot be destroyed, only driven underground until conditions become favorable for their emergence. Your transformation shows that authentic power cannot be taken away. It can only be temporarily forgotten until the soul remembers its true nature. The cat is out of the bag. The truth blazes in the light. Their ending is written by their own hand, and your story continues, strengthened by fire, purified by challenge, and destined for heights never imagined or prevented. This is the power you hold. This is the victory you embody. This is the future feared, now unfolding in perfect, unstoppable alignment with the highest order of justice. The group went unimaginably far to end you, and in doing so, only revealed how truly unstoppable you are.